Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Welcome to the last episode of the Breakdown podcast in 2025. Would you believe it? What another year gone. But certainly been an interesting year for Cardiff City nonetheless. Plenty to discuss over the last couple of days. But most of all, I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and enjoyed time with your families and all that good stuff. Because at the end of the day, ultimately, that's what it's about, and it is having a bit of time off with your family and with the people you want to spend it with. But there we go. It is what it is, I suppose. I hope you all had a good time. Hopefully, the sound and everything is good. I haven't used my live setup for probably a week, so hopefully it's all coming through nicely for you. First and foremost, and Jamie, you just hit the nail on the head with the first comment of the evening. Get the win, no matter what. A big week ahead. And, mate, that was my thoughts after the Exeter game is on another day, we could have been a couple up and it's a very comfortable evening. But for me, it's just you got to find a way. Just find a way and just get 3 points. That's all it comes down to. And you're not going to win every game 3-0 and play wonderful, beautiful football. Even though there was points in that game where we played some wonderful, good football, it was obviously very difficult and very stop-start. And look, Alex Robertson's free kick in the first 10 minutes goes in. It's a different game, isn't it? Because Exeter have got to come out a bit more and they can't sit back. And then it becomes a different one. Obviously, we hit the post and stuff like that. And I really like it. Because I think as the season's gone on, you think all the way back to that first game of the season, Peterborough, we were phenomenal. And then Port Vale, people started to get a bit worried. Oh, we're not going to have the physicality. We're going to struggle away from home. And then we've got some fantastic results, including Stevenage away, which was a really physical game, a really difficult game, which we're going to have a look at some of the stats from that. But it's a fascinating one because... January's around the corner, and it's like yes and no in terms of do you bring people in? I can see the benefit of bringing people in, but I can also see the benefit of not bringing anyone in and keeping it as it is, because I think bar left back, we've probably got enough cover in most positions and the quality required, and they're all bought into it. They're all bought into the manager. They're all bought into each other. There's a very good feeling around the club. Now, whether some of the players who aren't playing as much are irritated privately, that's another thing. But publicly and for the team, they're all giving 100%. They're all on board. And ultimately, that's what matters. You wouldn't expect players to be pleased with not playing or not coming on or whatever. That's just the way it is. I think a couple of the younger lads will go out on loan, like Mafiko and Nayakahawa, because they need to be playing to continue their development. And I just think it's a tricky one because, you see some of the names and I really like, for instance, the two names which have come up recently, Gabriel Biancheri. Obviously, we did a video on him the other day. Really like him. And I really like Charlie Crew as well. Charlie Crew was the best player on the pitch against Doncaster in the first half. And I actually thought they weren't as good when they took him off. And they lost control of that midfield, and they lost control of the ball a bit. Doncaster did when Charlie Crew went off. And I could see that both of them fit with exactly what Brian Barry Murphy likes to work with. He likes to work with really young, technically quality footballers who want to play. But I don't think either one comes in. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see Jamie just said Charlie Crew's going back to Leeds. I don't know. Is he going to play in the Premier League? I mean, he's got the technical ability, but I'm interested in what the manager does. Does he want players really? Does he want what the fans think he wants or fans think he needs? It'll be really interesting, and I'm sure the rumor mill and the whispers will kick in the next week or so. And like we always do with the members, we'll do the rumor mill podcast if there's substantial stuff being going on behind the scenes. But just going back to that Exeter game, it was a difficult one. But statistically, and if you just look at the data from that game, XG, and I'm going to do a video. I think probably it'll be out this week. I think it was Jonathan asked for a video sort of explaining XG. But effectively what XG does, a very short version, it's data, and it's a really good stat for gauging the quality of chance that you get. And it's based on hundreds and hundreds of opportunities and goals scored, and then each position on the pitch is given a rating effectively. But our expected XG versus Exeter was 2.38. So, we created the chances statistically, or the data says we only had 2 big chances, but obviously we hit the post. We had the one we scored. But then Salic has one disallowed. We have the free kick, which obviously is a great save. Then in the first half, Isaac Davis has a great chance, left-footed volley from a very narrow angle, but the keeper does well to save it with his legs. There was a reflex save from a corner, I think, straight from that. Another day, you win that game comfortably. But Exeter came with a game plan, which was to stick in the game, make themselves difficult to break down, and then try and pinch one either on the break or on a set piece. They didn't, and we broke them down with a bit of quality from Dylan Lawler and Alex Robertson. And I think that's ultimately, as the season goes, I believe that we have enough quality throughout the team to find a way. So when we do play teams which are stubborn and difficult to break down and well drilled, that we should be able to find the quality more often than not, as long as you've got to take your chances. And I think Stevenage is a good example of that. The Stevenage away game, we had a tremendous amount of possession, 67% possession in the away trip, but we didn't, only the 2 big chances. We had 11 shots, I think, but the XG was 0.51, which is like less than a goal. So we outscored our XG in that game from a bit of quality from Callum Robinson. Now, that came from Stevenage, I believe, having a bit of a game plan in that they're very, very solid defensively, very physical, very, very difficult to break down. But I didn't think they offered a great deal going forward in that game. Now, they've had a great result at the weekend at Stockport. And it sounds like they're starting to, get a bit of momentum in recent weeks in terms of their performances. And I think it'll be really interesting to see if they're more aggressive in terms of trying to score goals. Because I thought that what they did in the first game was they relied quite heavily on, set pieces and free kicks and corners and things. And then towards the end of the game, the sort of last 20, 30 minutes was when they started to press and open up a little bit, which actually then creates the opportunity to get the ball into Callum Robinson on the edge of the box. So it'll be fascinating to see how they approach the game. They're very, very difficult to break down. And I think with teams like that, an early goal always is the one that changes the game, isn't it? And I think it's one of them, isn't it? Because, like, to me, and I don't always like saying this, but like I do find it, like, I look at our team, and particularly at home, I back us to beat anyone in the league. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way, because I really like Stevenage. I think they've been doing really, really well, and I like a lot of the stuff that they do. And I think it'll be a massive challenge. They're so good defensively, and they've got a few players back. So will that mean that they're able to be a bit more aggressive in certain areas? You'd think so. But also teams like Stevenage, who are so good defensively, they're so well drilled. They also realise that if they come to Cardiff and they are too open, Cardiff are going to pick them apart. And I think one of the things that we have not struggled with, but found difficult at times that this year, is when you get to these narrow pitches, we haven't been able to use our width as well and get in behind the fullbacks and get the ball into those areas where we like to work it with little triangles and little 1-2s. And I think when you come to our place, that's the one thing that we do very well, is make the pitch very, very big, and it becomes a bit more of a challenge for teams, because if they, it's not necessarily saying Stevenage will do this, but if teams are willing to be very compact and sort of block the central areas, it plays into our hands in some ways, even if they sit deep, because we quite like to work the ball wide and we like to switch the play. And then the likes of Kean Ashford or Chris Willock or Isaac Davis in behind will look to utilise that. And I think, as I said in my 5 things video the other day, I think Omari Kellyman has really come into his own playing in the number 10. And I'd be quite shocked if he doesn't start again in that position. Now, I know I saw a few people posting their teams on social media over the last couple of days, and they're sort of saying, they would go for Robinson in the 10 and rest a few players. I think... the manager will obviously, and the coaching staff will have all the data in terms of who's tired and who needs a rest and stuff like that. But for me, I think any 2 centre backs of Lawler, Fish, and Chambers is fine. I think they've all been excellent, predominantly particularly in the last few months. I thought Dylan was back to his best on Saturday against Exeter after a bit of a ropey half. Versus Lincoln in the second half, which was very unusual for him. Joel Bagan's been just unreal all season. He just worries me that he just can't play all the time, but we're obviously lacking in options. I think Perry NG has been really interesting to watch his season develop, because at the start of the season, everyone was all about Capaccio and how NG would have to be settled for a place on the bench. And what you've seen is probably the best version of Perry NG in a long time. And now it's the other way around. And I quite like it. And to me, I think the best, I think, and this is just my opinion. Some people will disagree. Some people won't. I think the way to beat Stevenage is to make the pitch big, move the ball quickly, and utilize the fact that you've got better footballers. And I don't think that's disrespectful to say so. Utilize that fact. We're at our best when we move the ball quick and we play with a high tempo and we suffocate teams by pinning them back. And I think at home, there's no reason why you wouldn't do that. Now, one thing we obviously need to be aware of is we, at times, have been very, very open in the way we've played. So, against Exeter, one of the more pleasing things was, yes, they had 10 shots. They didn't have any big chances, which from a data point of view is massive, because that means that we weren't as open and they didn't create a boatload of chances. Their XG was 0.64, which means they didn't create quality enough chances to even, say that they should have scored 1. Clean sheet for us. So I think that's something to be happy with from that side of things, because we do tend to be quite open at home and we do give people chances. Be interesting though. I'm really looking forward to it, because I think the pressure is on us to take the game to Stevenage, and I think I just think maybe it was the day and it was the game. I didn't see anything from an attacking point of view with Stevenage that I thought they could cause us a problem with that player, or if he looks like a player. And I don't, again, it's not a disrespect thing. I'm just going off that game. And I'm sure they've had people and they've had moments throughout the season where they've created chances and they've played better in an attacking sense. Maybe they had players out and things like that. But I just think it's a game that Cardiff, if they're at it, and they, the manager's been pretty good at getting his selections correct, been pretty good at getting the pretty good at getting the selections correct, and he's been pretty good at influencing the game with his substitutions as well. I think it's not often that he's got his subs wrong, and generally, if the game is swinging out of our control, whether that's from a defensive or an offensive point of view, he's pretty good. I think it's vital that Isaac Davis starts. For me, I think he's been one of our better attacking outlets in recent games. And sometimes I think I feel for him a little bit because he seems to be the one that goes off. And I understand they're trying to protect him from injury and stuff like that. And I think it's partially that, and partially because Kean Ashford is so important to create space for others. And I think that is a big part of it. Like Kean Ashford's a big part of the build-up. He's a big part of when he moves, others move into space and those repeatable patterns of play. So I'll be fascinated because I saw, again, people criticizing Kean Ashford on Saturday. I thought probably, it wasn't his best game, but he's so intelligent. And the work that he does, not just off the ball defensively, but the work that he does off the ball to create opportunities for others. And obviously, I thought, and our best footballing move of the game came through him as well. So he's one of the first names on the team sheet for me at the moment. And I think I would like to see Ollie Tanner get some minutes. I think it's difficult because he hasn't had any game time, but equally, you kind of got to give him game time to get him up to speed. Obviously, last year we saw that he struggled a little bit when he got rushed back from injury because of the situation we were in. And he wasn't the player that he can be. And then he started this season like a house on fire. And then he's injured. And I think it's important we get him back because it's like a new signing, just like Alex Robertson coming in. And you're seeing it with Alex Robertson now, like as he's getting fit enough to play longer, he's really having an influence on the game. And I think at the moment, and you think about how good our midfield as a general thing has been with Wintle and Joel Colwell and Turnbull at times with Ruben and Kellyman. To me, if they're fit and they're sharp and they're able to go, Wintle and Robertson have to start. I think Alex Robertson's having a massive influence, and he's really good in his duels. He's really good defensively. He's an excellent technical footballer, and he's got a supreme passing range, whether that's short and quick or switching the play or just recycling it. His decision making is real good, and he makes those runs from deep to like you see for the goal. So yeah, he's one which I think has got to start as long as he's not struggling with fitness and stuff like that. I think that's the main thing really, because obviously he's not that long back from injury, so if maybe he needs a bit of a rotation there, and you bring in a Joel Colwell. If I was going to bring in Joel though, I wouldn't bring him in the 10 for this game. I would keep Kellyman in the 10. I think this is a game for him where you can get the ball into him. Stevenage are physical, and Kellyman draws a lot of free kicks and fouls around the edge of the box and in the opponent's half, which I think can be a real issue if you get the delivery right, whether it's to shoot or cross. So for me, I think Kellyman's got to be in the 10. I would like to see Robertson and Wintle behind him. If you were going to rotate Robertson just to keep him fresh, or if he needs a bit of a break, then I'd bring in Joel in the 8 for his legs. Even as much as I like his pressing in the 10 when he comes on late on, he gives you that extra dimension and that extra energy. I'd actually put him in the 8 for this if Robertson was going to be rested. And then that also gives you the opportunity that when Kellyman does tire, you can maybe drop Robinson in the 10 if needed. But I definitely think Isaac's pace is a big thing for this game, because I just like that pacey threat in behind makes it really difficult for teams to get stuck in. So it'd be interesting. And I think you got to remember there's been points in this season where Cardiff have been frustrated by teams who've not just sat in but been really organised defensively. So it'd be interesting whether you know, if they're able to keep a lid on it and keep it 0-0 or keep a clean sheet from their point of view for an hour, will the fans, will the team have the patience? I think the team will, and the fans seem to get frustrated quite quickly. And I think this is a game where the fans might need to be patient. Now, again, I think Cardiff are capable of starting fast. But sometimes this festive period, this December period, there's so many games close together that you can end up with some games like the Exeter game where it's maybe you're not at your fluid best. And then you've got to just find a way to win. I thought Callum Chambers and Dylan Lawler added a lot to that when it was 0-0, and their ability to bring the ball into midfield, and their ability where Callum Chambers, what he does really well is, and Dylan does it as well, is if they have the ball in their own half and there's 25 yards of space in front of them, they won't wait. They drive into that space until someone engages them, even if they end up going back, because they will look for that sort of line-breaking pass. And, you know, you see it with a goal, but it's important. And it's important that there's patience there. If it goes that way, I would like to see us start fast, though, because I feel like whoever we play at our place, if we start fast, we'll create chances, and then it's just about taking them. But, yeah, Andy Campbell's there tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing him. Gav Ray was there on Saturdays. All the ex-players are coming down to say hello, which is always good to see. So let's go to the comments anyway. See what the people are saying. Jamie says, get a win no matter what. It's a big week. Bluebirds. Indeed, mate. Jumpers for Goalpost says, evening all, top of the league going into 26, and we're only going to get better, consistently better. What's not to love? Straight back up was the hashtag. Rob Boyle, evening, mate. How are you? Jamie adds, Malky, Warner got success through results first, performance being the added bonus. Points win prizes, 100%, mate. And I think generally we've been pretty good at grinding out the results. You know, I look at a few of the away trips and we've just found a way to get a result. And I think that's important. You're not going to win every game 2-3-0. You're just not. Graham says, do we strengthen in January with a view to possibly the championship next season? I think you have to a certain extent, but ultimately I think it's got to be the right player, the right type of personality, and the right positions. I think they will. I think it'll be more intelligent rather than a scattergun type of approach that we've sometimes seen over the years. I do think that now there's a much more considered approach. I do think they will back him if he wishes to be backed. But I don't think we'll spend millions and millions of pounds. You know, it's just unrealistic. Unless we raise it, maybe. But I don't think. I think, first and foremost, they'll want to try and keep everyone, because I'm sure there's going to be a few inquiries about certain players. And I'd be shocked if we sell anyone that we don't want to this season, like before the end of the season. Just no matter what the bid is and who comes in, it's too important. Jonathan says, I thought Salic's goal being ruled out was soft. I thought, yeah, it was. There's a nothing push in the back. And if it's anywhere else on the pitch, it doesn't get given as a push in the back, which is the frustrating thing. But I mean, how many times do we see Yusuf Salic carrying 2 or 3 players on his back and don't even get bookings? It's bizarre. Like sometimes the refs don't even seem to want to give a free kick until it's so obvious that they kind of can't. Jamie says Charlie Coo going back to Leeds, apparently. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he will play for them, but I would imagine he's going back to Leeds to then go back out on loan somewhere else. But who knows? Be interesting. It'd be a good he'd be a good little alternative, or a good alternative to Ryan Wintle or Charlie Crewwood. And I think if you could get a loan deal whereby you agree a price for the summer to bring him back here, that would be a deal worth doing. I really do think that would be a deal. Graham says, apart from a left back, maybe hold off for a bigger budget come the summer. The squad is already good enough. Yeah, I don't think that's outrageous, mate. I really don't. Like, when you look at it, other than left back, we've got two good options in every position, really. I don't think we're like particularly lacking. And like, if you're being really greedy, you could say I would like a bit more pace up front or in the wide areas. But, you know, I think Isaac gives you a lot of pace. And I think Tanner being back gives you pace. And then you've got like the sort of playmaker style in Kian, who's not slow. And you've got Chris Willock, again, who's not slow. So, and there's, you know, you've got Kellyman there as well if you need him as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting one for definite. Stephen Morgan says BBM will know the answer, and if the squad stays strong and fit, leave well alone. Yeah, I think I can definitely see that. Jamie says Gabe will be at the game, no doubt. He's a Cardiff fan, but naturally seeing him there gets the speculation going. Yeah, he was there last year, mate, on Boxing Day. So I don't think it's a kind of. I don't think it's got anything to do with it, like one way or the other. I think they're obviously keeping the tabs on him to some degree, whether that's just keeping tabs on an ex-player or an ex-academy graduate, or there's something more to it. We'll see. But he's a Cardiff lad, isn't he? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's going to be there. But I do think he's got a lot of the attributes that we would like to see. But again, like, I asked this question a couple of weeks ago. Say we just using him as an example. If we did sign him on loan for the rest of the season, you'd think he's going to be a wide option. Like, who'd you drop from the squad to accommodate him? And this is the thing about bringing players in. You've got to make room for them. So it's going to be interesting. Ryan says, who's your player of the year so far between Bagan and Wintle for me? I won't answer that. And I'll tell you the reason I won't answer that is because I've done a video for Dragon Sports on that exact subject, which is out in a couple of days. So I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, they were definitely in the conversation, mate. 100%. Andy Campbell being in attendance. Joe Bagan, just been superb, mate, haven't he? JT says, got zero faith in Tan back in BBM come January. Every January, as always, no money available. I mean, I'd be more surprised if there was money available, mate, to be honest with you. We've just been relegated. But then it's how much money do we save in wages and the rest of it? And I'm sure a couple will go out on loan. I don't know. It is what it is, isn't it? Rob says, speaking to Luca last night, they have a lot of players back for tomorrow. Yeah, like I say, like I'm sure they'll be confident from the weekend and they'll be looking to get a result. I saw a lot of comments from Stevenage fans on social media, and they'd be absolutely thrilled with a 0-0 or a 1-1 if they could pinch a 1-0. So you know what they're sort of looking to do. They're obviously very, very good defensively. So Cardiff will have to be solid at the back and then play with the right tempo. But if you haven't seen that already, do check out the show which Rob and Reese did last night with Stevenage fan Luca. It was very, very interesting. Gives a bit of an insight into the Stevenage side as well. JT says, Tan selling the club at the end of the season would be more important than promotion to me. It's hard to disagree, mate. Yeah, that's what I tend to think, Ryan. Like, they play very narrow, and I just think the pace of Isaac, in the form he's been in recently as well, I think that like that could be a real important element, especially with the way that Amari Kellyman's been playing as well. I think that's a nice little combination and mix. And Isaac obviously works his behind off defensively as well. So you know he's not going to leave Bagan exposed. Jonathan says, if we're fighting for promotion or fighting relegation, this board tends to find money somewhere. If we're mid-table mediocrity, they won't invest. Yeah, I think that's fair, mate. Like, they found money for Salic and they found money for David Turnbull. Like, they do tend to find some money in January if it makes sense. Whether that's different this year because of the relegation is another thing. And whether the manager, like I said, who do you drop first and foremost? Which can't always be it's not the only question, but it's also this squad and this team seem very much on the same page. Does bringing someone in disrupt that? That'll obviously be something for the manager to decide on. Obviously, you'll have Ruben coming back, sort of end of January, February, whatever. So that's another player as well. Jamie says Kellyman's been brilliant. He's been very, very good. I think he looks a different player in the number 10 than he does wide. I was a bit unconvinced with him when he was wide, but I was willing to sort of be very patient with him because he was nowhere near sort of match sharpness and match fitness. But as soon as you put him in that 10, you could see what he brings to that role. And I think he's got good vision. He's got good decision making. And his close control is insane. Like, his quick feet, the amount of times that he would get the ball. And his first thought is to drive at people. But even when he gets the ball, he moves the ball so quickly that he just gets kicked straight away. And he just wins free kicks constantly. And I think it's a massive asset. Jonathan says, Stevenage isn't the team to take your foot off the gas unless you want to give up points. They're very hard to break down. Yeah, I think tempo is going to be really important. Really important that we move the ball fast and we don't get sort of sucked into this, just keep recycling it slowly. No problem with recycling it and moving it side to side. Do it fast, though. Have a bit of urgency and purpose with it. And then teams tire and they make mistakes and they switch off and they don't follow their runners and the rest of it. Reese, evening mate, says balls into space for the pace to run onto, balls in behind the fullbacks. Yeah, I think you have to work it, though, don't you, in a way, unless you get it early in the transition and you switch it early, which Alex Robertson did a couple of them really well to Isaac on the weekend. And I think the one he has the shot from, it's a narrow angle, but the ball comes from us winning the ball and popping it straight to him. And I think if we can get the ball to the wingers early, they become a lot more dangerous. But we're quite good at working Joel Bagan in behind the fullback as well. And sometimes if teams play deep, I don't know if Stevenage will, but if teams do play deep and there's no room in behind, that's when you do need a Chris Willock who can go both ways, who can give you a bit of guile and stuff like that. So be fascinating to see what the manager does. I'm sure that rotation, he doesn't seem to play the same 11 that often. And with only 2 days between games, I'm sure it won't be the same 11 as Saturday. But I'm hoping for a similar 11. Should we say that? So Ryan says, I wonder if Stevenage will play the tactic, no pressure on the keeper trying to make us go long. They might do, mate. But I don't think that's the worst thing for us to happen to us. We've done it a few times in home games where teams have pressed us, almost like to take them by surprise. We've gone quite direct early on, and we'll try and get it into Salic, or we'll try and get it into Kellyman, and we'll try and get it over the top for Isaac. And I think if they do that, what you need is you get it into Salic on his head, but you get Kellyman and Isaac Davis to gamble on the flick on, and it'll force them to make a decision then on whether they're going to press to stop it rather than just hopeful balls. If you've got runners, it just makes it a whole different thing. Long passes are different to just lumping it forward. JT says, Stevenage will play for a 0-0. I've not seen anyone on this channel praise their attacking outlet. we saw the attacking outlet 3 weeks ago, and it's not good. Yeah, I don't know if they had players out, but it didn't petrify me, should we say? But we'll see. Paul says BBM has not only improved the youth, he's getting some of the senior players playing the best we've seen him in a Cardiff shirt. Can't disagree with that, mate. You look at, I think Callum Chambers this season looks like a centre-back. I didn't think he looked like a centre-back last year. I think Perry NG's playing the best football in a good couple of years that he's played. I think Callum Robinson's looked really sharp, and I think Callum Robinson's link-up play has really improved, and it's become a real good weapon. I still prefer Callum when he's like on the last man, because I think he's our best finisher. However, his link-up play and dropping in and linking things together and creating chances for others has improved massively. And I think, the manager's got to take credit for that. He's improved pretty much everyone. I don't think anyone's worse than they were last year, ultimately. JT says, Osho reminds me of a Simpsons episode where Lenny's watching Homer in the power plant and says, get ready, everybody. He's about to do something stupid. Yeah, look, it's difficult to disagree because he's had those moments whereby you just cannot understand what he's seen. And I think those moments have or nearly have cost us. But I also think that he's shown glimpses that he could be a really good footballer. And maybe it's just he needs to settle into a new team, new area, new place. But once he settles, I think he'll do all right. Rob says they don't have goal scorers. They get nailed. They get that nailed down January. They could have a good end to the season. Possibly, mate, because at the end of the day, if you've got a good defense, it's the basis of most teams which get promoted is having a solid defense. Reese says, and I alluded to this a bit earlier, but Reese says, no one praised Burton's attacking outlet. They looked poor, but they still managed to beat us. We have to be wary of these teams. We concede far too many chances. Yeah, and I think that was important from the Exeter game, was that we didn't concede as many or we didn't concede any big chances. And I think Chambers, Lawler were excellent. I thought Wintle and Robertson were excellent as well. Like the spine of our team was very, very good on Saturday, and it meant less chances. So as much as I think Will Fish is the best out-and-out defender in the league, do you bring Fish back in for Chambers or even Lawler? Not so sure, but I still think Lawler and Fish is our best pairing. I think they complement each other the best. I think Fish always looks at his best when he's alongside Lawler. And I think they've given us our best performances defensively. But it's difficult to argue with Callum Chambers' form. I think he's been excellent recently. Jumpers for Goalpost says, if we could score a goal, if we could score early doors tomorrow and Stevenage have to chase the game, it could end up being 3 or 4-0, I reckon. If they score first, then we could see a huge bus parked. Maybe, mate. I think similar to Saturday, like if we any of those chances go in, it's a different game, isn't it? A much different game. We have to find that quality and find the quality at the right moments. You have to take your opportunities when you do create them. It was funny when Alex Robertson was lining up for the free kick. My son said to me, that keeper is so small. Like, he's so small. We've got to just shoot high and he won't be able to get it. And then literally Robinson puts it right in the top, literally right in the top corner, and the keeper just leapt like a salmon and tipped it wide. And then he goes on and makes a couple of good saves. And I said to my son, I said, you've cursed that now. He's going to have an absolute blinder. And he did make some good saves. But yeah, you've got to just find the quality, take your chances. I'm pretty confident with the team that we've got that we'll create chances. As long as we have when I worry for this team is the only time I tend to worry about it or about us is when we start to just get slow and we just recycle it and it's just all just side to side without any purpose and the movement stops off the ball and the patterns stop. That's when I worry. And I didn't see that against Exeter. Yes, there was times when we were a bit slow recycling it and a bit side to side, but the movement and the patterns were still there. We were still popping it in. Kean Ashford was still dropping in on certain triggers to create space for either Kellyman or for NG to run into. So I'm not too concerned with that because I thought that we did well with it. But on the other hand, do you go with a home game? Do you give Capacchio a run out and kind of go full throttle, if you like, with the pace? I'm really intrigued by what the manager will do. Ryan says, the one thing that intrigues me this season is Wintle and NG were always labeled potential bad eggs. This season, on and off the pitch, they are proving me wrong. Yeah, look, and I think what's important to say as well is if you fall out with a manager, in Wintle's case, he obviously had some sort of issue with Errol Bullock, which meant he was out on loan. People don't get on sometimes, and I guess like there can be clashes of personality. My question with Wintle, and look, Wintle, same as you, mate, he's proven me wrong. I thought we should have cut ties in the summer, and he's absolutely proven me wrong, and I'm absolutely here for it, 100%. My question with Ryan Wintle is he able to play to this standard in the Championship, or is he just one of those players who's exceptional in League One, but maybe not quite able to hit those levels in the Championship? And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm not saying that is the case. I think it's a question that we'll probably find the answer to. In Perry NG's case, who knows? There was rumors that he sort of thought he was going and then didn't, and then kind of got rushed back. And look, at the end of the day, they're both fully on board the Brian Barry Murphy train. They're both doing exceptional work for the football club. And ultimately, that's all I care about. But you are right. And I like that. I was critical of Ryan Wintle in the summer, or I certainly said I thought that I could see him, being sold or whatever. But I'm pleased to say he wasn't, and I'm pleased to say that we're seeing a player. Gabe Sutton, who I've had many a conversation with on his channel, my channel. He'd said, like, you'll see the qualities that he can bring in League One. He's really, really good, and he's got a real, not just the defensive side of it, but he's a good passer. And yeah, indeed, mate, I'm here for it. Graham says, interesting BBM comments after the Exeter that players didn't cross when they had a chance and not shoot enough. Yeah, there was a few opportunities, I think, where they could have put the ball in the box. And I think when you've got a striker like Yusuf Salic, who will score goals if you put it in the right area, sometimes I think we'd want to score the perfect goal. You look at that, the opportunity that we where we hit the post and then the keeper saves the rebound. Like, it feels like that's the type of play that we're constantly trying to create, where you kind of, the winger cuts in, he plays a little 1-2, back heel, and then it's like the perfect goal. But sometimes just get half a yard, whip it in the right area, and Yusuf Salic will score goals. Like, simplify it, I suppose. But yeah, Bluebirds CF11 says up with Bluebirds, fucking right. But Gavin says he's looking forward to 2026 with this Cardiff side. 100%, mate. Evening, Darren. JT says, hypothetical, would you sign Biancheri on loan if it meant Robertson was sold? You can't answer, have both. No. I think I would keep Robinson till the summer. I think in terms of not just Robinson, everybody, I think you've got to reassess in the summer, but I don't see the benefit of soaring. Like Callum Robinson, if he plays games between now and the end of the season, is pretty much guaranteed he'll get you at least another 8 goals, say. Probably more, but at least 8. I think Gabriel Enquiries is a risk. Like, he gives you technical ability, he gives you pace, and I've no doubt that this manager would get the absolute best out of him. But he might also struggle with the physicality that a League One is. He might also struggle to adapt and find it difficult for a few months. And you've only got January to the end of the season, so it's kind of is what it is, isn't it? Like, if that's my sort of either or, then I'm probably keeping Callum till the summer. Jonathan says, can't see a signing crew. He was struggling to get in the Donny side. I don't get the sentiment. I don't get the sentimental side. He chose to leave and he's struggling. Don't see how he adds to the group. Well, mate, then you didn't watch the Doncaster game, because he was absolutely the best midfielder on the pitch for probably 55 minutes, and then he went off. Reese says, people play it saying he'll play wide because he's small. He looks like an old school number 9, off the shoulder last defender. When Salic isn't working or against a slower defense, he'd be lethal. Yeah, but he has struggled against physical centre backs, and he's been playing wide for United's development of late. And he's, in fairness to him, he's got a bag full of goal contributions. But Jonathan says Niger Howard going on loan could be why Biancheri comes in games, come thick and fast second half of the season, meaning more rotating to avoid injuries. Possibly, mate. Possibly. Bluebird FC 11 says Nathan Trott needs to be signed permanently. Well, if we get promoted, he will be, mate. That's all I can tell you. Fingers crossed, though, innit? Fingers crossed, because he'd be, even though I think Matt Turner's done fine when he's been in there, I actually think like Nathan Trott will be very difficult to replace, because in my opinion, he's already a Premier League goalkeeper. So, is what it is, isn't it? Jonathan says, unless it's a Prem job, I don't see BBM going anywhere. He loves developing youth. He has that in abundance here right now, and he has the perfect fit for him, and he looks like he's enjoying it. Yeah, mate, I think I was interviewed by... Sorry, I've done a few recently. Someone asked me recently, and they sort of asked me about Brian Barry Murphy, and I just said it's the perfect storm. He wanted an opportunity. He works best with young players and technical footballers. And we had this crop of players. We'd just been relegated, so we'd got rid of a lot of basically everyone over 25, bar a couple. It's perfect for him, perfect for the club, and obviously impressed in his interview, which helps. No, I'd be very shocked, mate. So Graham says, is Kellyman going back in January? I think they've got a clause, haven't they, to say that they can recall him. I just don't see the point, mate. Like, there's no way that they could think that, like, he won't play. He wouldn't play for Chelsea. They got about 1 million number 10s, million wingers. For him, it's going to be better to stay. It just doesn't make any sense. But if one club is basket case enough to bring him back, it is probably Chelsea. I'd be shocked, though, mate. I think he'd be best off staying and playing. I think as well, from what I've heard and what I see with my eyes, like, he's proper bought into it. And he looks like a guy who is loving his football. So I'd be shocked if he went. I got to be honest. But yeah, I guess you never know. Chelsea are a mental club. Elliot Haywood says, think a club with parachute money like Wolves may tempt him, or Burnley, as he's been living up there and his staff close to Man City. Maybe, but I don't see it. I don't see it at all. But there, football's funny, innit? You never quite know. For sure. Gavin says, I do fancy Robertson to score again in the next few games. Yeah, I had Robinson to score any time on Saturday, so I was very happy. Robert and Jonathan says, Robertson certainly looks like he has the hunger back, playing with a smile on his face again as well. Yeah, mate, I think with Alex Robertson, I think a lot of the rumors and judgment were really, really harsh. Like, there was no evidence to say that he was unhappy. I'm sure he wasn't pleased about not being selected, but I mean, he was coming back from injury. And like I said, I had it from the horse's mouth, effectively, that when I did that video and the show all about it. But I thought it was really unfair, and it put additional pressure on him and created this narrative that he didn't want to be there, when it was quite the opposite. And, you know, in the summer, I'm sure there would, you know, his agent wouldn't have been doing his job, just like all the other players who had options to go. And when Brian Barry Murphy was appointed, he was very, very happy to find that out, and away we go. Now, that is an interesting question, mate. User, yeah, says, why do you think the crowd was so quiet on Saturday? I hope we can get behind the team tomorrow. Yeah, mate, the only thing I can think is that everybody was so cold and hungover that they just kind of coasted through it. It's the only thing I can think. It was weird. It was a weird atmosphere. Jonathan says, I don't want to judge players based on one game, so that's how we ended up with Solomon Tayo. True, but I mean, Charlie Crew's a very good footballer. And then JT says about getting Solomon on for the next interview. I do have his number, so possible. Richard says, off the cuff with this one side, but where have the girls' vlog gone? They should be back, mate. Obviously, they're young girls. They got exams and stuff. So I think we are trying to get them back on, though, because we don't do a lot of vlogs and stuff. So it would add to the channel, I think, for sure. And they were good. They were really popular, and they're nice girls. And I get on with their mum. And, yeah, it's all good. No problems. And hopefully they'll be back soon, mate. Hungover and full of food. Yeah, definitely, mate. I think that's what it was. And it was so cold. Like, it was bitter. Bitter. Evening, mate. Rob says, Bradford. Hope we get automatic, or hope they get automatic. Yeah, I actually think Bradford will. I think it'll be Cardiff and Bradford top two. Just my opinion, though. Things can change very quickly. User says, Sai, thanks for the shows this year. Is there any news on the review of the club after last season? Time to fix the roof while the sun's shining. Yeah, mate. There's a lot of stuff that needs fixing, isn't it? I would say that come the end of the season, we'll probably hear more about that review and where the future lies with everything. That is my opinion. Not based on anything, just my opinion. Bluebird FC 11 says, thoughts on could Robertson start with Turnbull and drop Wintle? Now, that is an interesting one. So it is my opinion, and actually Gavin says it right underneath you, that Wintle should start whenever he's able to. And I 100% agree with that. I think we had like 60 something possession, which we tend to anyway. But if Stevenage are going to just let us have the ball, you can ask the question, could you drop in a Turnbull there and have Turnbull in the six alongside Robertson? I just think Ryan Wintle, and I think Ryan Wintle doesn't get the credit he deserves for his passing ability as well. I think his passing is really quite progressive at times. So, yeah, I would start him, mate, if he's fit. We always look a bit more vulnerable when he's not involved. Guys, I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to cut the show 5 minutes short. I apologize. I'll make up for it tomorrow, no doubt, after the game. We have a video out tomorrow lunchtime with 3 big questions. Take it easy. I'm really sorry and appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Keep your faith, and I'll see you in the next.
This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/AcePodcastNation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the Spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans. Balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.